I remember I was like, you got a Subaru? Why? I can literally daily it and race it, and it still runs. You were such a jerk to me when that fender popped up. It was not my fault.
Welcome back. We have my wife here, but it's 2023 and ownership is not a real thing. This is...
I'm Rebekah.
She's been with me since high school, since I started on the whole car journey, one might say. The coming to age story of building really shit cars. So she's gonna be rating them honestly and carefully. The initial rating system was S through D. I didn't have an F because I knew she would rate most of the cars F, but we had to refilm. We're now on a point system. So we're starting off with the first car that we made lovin'. We didn't. The 1994 Mitsubishi 3000 GT SL. What are your thoughts?
This is the first car I learned how to drive manual in.
Who taught you?
You did.
I'm such a good teacher, wasn't I?
You were interesting.
I didn't make you cry, did I? What would you rate this out of 0 being not good and 10 being perfect in every way?
I would say this is like a 5 through 6.
Okay, on to the next car. This is a 1976 Datsun 280Z. 355 small block Chevy on a 5-speed till she blew up. Then we did a 6-speed, then that blew up. What would you rate it?
When you bought it, I was like, who are you trying to get? Old ladies? Like, is that your, he was like 17. Wait, you were like 19. But like, what was, we were like, he was getting hit on more by old ladies than he was by like young people.
All right, what are we rating this killer?
I'm gonna say that one's probably a 7 through 8.
Now on to the small period of my time where I owned like 27,000 motorcycles. The white ZX. What was it, ZX6R?
Yeah, I really liked that one. It wasn't my favorite motorcycle you've ever owned. I don't think you ever had a seat for me.
But the ZX6R in the all white that I got traded for a Miata, what would you rate it?
I would say I liked the bike the way it looked, but I would say probably a 9 because I never got to ride on it. It sounded amazing.
You're rating it a 9? Just seems like an awfully good score compared to the old 3K, you know? That's all.
Wait. Are we going from the bottom to the top now?
10 is the best you can get.
Start over because you switched it.
How is 10 not the best? On to the next, the 2001, the perfect, the pinnacle Audi, the C5 A6.
I really hated the way this car looked. It was quicker-ish. It wasn't your fastest.
It walked the doors off a C5 Corvette one time.
This one is probably a 1-2.
Well, we have another bike. This was the bike that you got clotheslined on.
Yes.
Do you remember that? You want to share that story?
Yeah, so we were riding around downtown. There was some construction downtown, and we're like, oh, well, perfect. Cars can't go down here, but we're going to go down here. And it was fine up until we turned. And I think we were going about 30. And I saw at the last minute, somebody had tied with just like a string. So it was like, it was almost dark. So you could barely see it until I was like right in front of it, to 2 stop signs. It like grabbed my neck and I was still holding on for dear life.
Yeah, and we downed it. What would you rate it?
This gets a 10. This is my favorite bike you ever owned.
I got another one for you. This is the best boat you've ever seen in your entire life. Do you remember this car?
I tried to talk him out of buying this car so many times.
This car was perfect in every way. It was my winter beater. We're looking at a 1992 Mercedes-Benz 420 SEL. This thing had more space in the back seat than you know what to do with. What would you rate this perfect pinnacle automotive experience from 2014?
I thought this car was gonna have dead bodies in the back of the trunk.
It didn't, but it could.
The situation from buying it all the way to bringing it home.
But it could have, because it had the trunk space.
Yeah, it definitely could have. I hated this car, so this gets a 0.
On to a cool car, because apparently Mercedes aren't cool. The B7 A4 turbo manual all-wheel drive Das Boost.
I loved this car. This was actually probably the reason that we really worked out was this car, because I loved this car.
We worked out because of a wagon?
Yeah, because you had finally chose a good car to buy, and I was like, all right, this guy's got it. It was in there. I knew it just was gonna take a little bit of time.
What would you score this out of 10?
This is up with the CBR. This was a 10. I loved this car.
All right, moving on to the next car is we're going to be talking about a Ruckus, apparently, because that's next on the list. The GY6 swapped Ruckus, do you remember this?
I do, I remember that.
There was a fad for 2 years in the car scene in Wisconsin where everyone owned a Ruckus for some reason. It shook, it rattled, it went 45 miles an hour. What do you think?
Since I didn't get to experience the full aspect of it, I would give it probably a 1 to 2.
Okay.
It was so cool. Like it was cool.
Yeah.
I can't put it up with the I've experienced it.
Ducati 999?
You also never bought a seat for me for this one.
Moving on! Moving on to the next vehicle, we have the V2 Datsun. This is when it was plasti-dipped brown with Corey Jensen detailing the side. You remember that? We had rotas on it, and I think those were Cooper tires, Cooper Ultras. What do you think?
This was my favorite version of this car, actually. I really loved the bronze, even though everybody gave you so much plasti dipping it.
Yep.
I remember when Corey came to do the designs on the back, and it was, I mean, it made it look so cool. I would say this was like a 1 2. That was my favorite style of that car.
It was a 1 or a 2? Remember?
Oh, sorry, 9.
How are we getting this backwards?
I'm sorry. I'm just.
I don't understand in what part of. All right, so let's move into 2016. We get the Datsun back. It's white. What do you think?
I liked this. I did like it. It was very clean. It wasn't like my favorite version of it because just something about the black and bronze looked so
It looks
good.
like a panda bear, though.
It does look like a panda bear. No, I definitely thought this.
No, it's okay. Don't let me convince you.
This was a very clean version. This was you maturing.
What would you rate it though?
I would give this probably up where the Ducati is, 3/4.
This whole thing is painful. I knew you were gonna be mean. I just didn't know the extent of your wrath. The 2004 E55 AMG V8 supercharged, 1 billion horsepower and 10,000 foot-pounds of torque. Practically perfect in every way, from the aero to the wheels to the beautiful brakes. You would probably rate this what, a 2?
No, I loved this car. I really liked this car.
What was your favorite part?
I liked driving this car. It was really fun. When you hit boost, it was quick. I liked that it was a sleeper. It was like the lounge car, but like it still was quick. It's actually like why I love my BMW so much.
What would you rate this thing?
That's up with the Datsun, the bronze Datsun. That's a 9.
It's a 9er?
That one. Mm-hmm.
We got a 9er. All right, up next, FB Mazda RX-7. What do you remember about it? What would you rate it?
I remember it sitting because it was over COVID. I remember we bought it over COVID time, and so like it never got the love it deserved.
Yeah.
I think if we could have given it the love, it would have been a really cool car. But this gets a 0 because I never got to drive or ride or even hear it run, to be honest with you. I think you pushed it into the garage.
Up next, we have the final iteration of the Datsun coming back, 3rd time's the charm. Different bumper, Brinkworth over fenders with your favorite over fender popping off at auto motion. Where do you throw it?
You were such a jerk to me when that fender popped off. It was not my fault that whoever put that fender on didn't do it correctly. I opened my door and the fender popped off. And actually, Tess and Rick remember this because they were there when you were so angry at me. And I was like, yep, not my fault. I don't know what to tell you. Like, I opened the door. I'm so sorry for getting out of your car. I really wasn't a huge fan of this car white until you put the wide body on it. And then I really liked that. So, this gets a 9.
Moving on to the next car, we have the 2008 Subaru WRX STI hatch. Call me Paul Walker, because I'm about to Fast and Furious 4 into your DMs. What would you rate this bad boy?
I remember I was like, you bought a Subaru? Why?
Ow.
I would rate this close to probably a 0 because I also really don't remember it.
You know, I think we're on the same page with that one. Next up on the No Taste gang, the 2001 Porsche 996 Turbo X50. What would you rate this?
I would rate
time capsule.
This is definitely a 10. I loved this car. Your first Porsche, I think it was very special and it was beautiful.
Shortly thereafter, we ended up picking up your very own Porsche 911, the SC, the Super Carrera, the G Series. What would you rate it?
This was my favorite car combination we've ever had.
Yeah, it was perfect.
It was perfect.
It was beautiful in every
I
way.
wish I could say the driving experience for the SC was perfect.
God, that sucked.
I hated every second of owning that car.
But what would you rate it, Bekah?
Well, it was definitely a lemon, but it was a beautiful lemon. This got a 7 to 8. This will be up with the blue Datsun.
You can't always get what you want, but you can get a 2018 BMW M4 Competition. Bekah, this is your car.
This is in 2019.
What you think?
I love this car. It's like driving a stick of butter down a bread hallway, and it's just smooth and it's just melting perfectly, and it just all makes sense.
What would you rate your M4?
This gets a 10. I can literally daily it and race it, and it still runs.
The 2017 Audi R8, a small change from the previous cars, probably one of my favorite cars. What would you rate it?
That gets a 9 slot. I really like driving it. I love the flappy paddles. You really felt like you were driving, like the sound of it. It felt like a race car.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
Deal.
I liked that.
Going into the next bit, my favorite car pretty much ever built, ever. Clapped car will never settle. 2001 Honda S2000, K24 swapped, 500 horsepower, future time attack class winner, maybe, probably not. You love this car. It's perfect. E85, everything that you need. What would you rate it?
Can we move on to the next car?
She rated this a 2, and the internet exploded. You can keep the 2. Just answer the question.
I would like to explain why. I just like this car because it is so difficult to drive. Like, I understand it's for racing, and that's awesome. And maybe if I'm on a racetrack and I ever get the opportunity to take it out, maybe I will love it. But this car blows to drive. I've tried to move it in a storm. Actually, I tried to save it. We had a hailstorm coming. Alex was sleeping. I was like, I'm not gonna wake him up. I'm gonna try to move it so that
No, you keep going.
so that it didn't get, ruined, which I should have just let the hail damage, send fury from God because you bought that car. And I tried to move it and it wouldn't go anywhere.
I want you to know I love you more than life itself. I would literally go toe to toe to fist fight the sun if that's what it took to earn your love. However, though, what are you rating this goddamn car?
This gets a 1-2. Yeah.
Oh, it's a 1-2?
Yeah.
Interesting. Let's move on though. We have a couple more cars. Finishing up with the 1996 Nissan Gloria right-hand drive drift car, brought to you by Driver Motorsport and I.
This gets a 7 to 8.
Why?
Because I'm still not a fan of the body style and how big it is.
Okay. So next up, we have the 2007 Ferrari F430.
This is my favorite car.
Really?
Even though it overheats and it's temperamental and it's been through like 17 different changes body style wise.
Like me, easy to overcook.
Difficult to work with.
Okay, careful. What would you rate it?
This gets a 10.
You like this one that much? Last one, the 2023 Nissan Z. You can just be honest. I already know you're gonna be honest. What would you rate this?
If any of you out there
Be honest.
have ever driven one of these vehicles, a manual, it feels like I'm driving a Dodge Dart. But it feels like it's just so loose. And it's like, why is there a first gear? I could just go right into second and it would get me as far as I need to go.
So where would you rate the Nissan Z?
This gets a 3 to 4.
Lastly, the car that you thought I'd forget, but I'd never forget. The car that was so important to all of us way back in the day. Maybe you can see it right here. The 1994 Mazda Miata, supercharged.
It's actually a 1993.
What would you rate this? This was your car.
I loved this car.
Where would you put
She gets
Izzy?
a 10.
She gets a 10?
Yeah. Both my... Look at how great my choices are.
How interesting. If you guys want to take a look at the ratings, you can actually look in the comments below. We'll put the link and then you can rate this. My beautiful wife, last time she rated cars, accidentally blew up the internet. So this will be really fantastic to see if you guys agree with her or don't.
So my opinion is absolutely correct. So if you don't, that's your own problem.
Thank you so much for watching. I'm Alex, AlexMartini with 2 underscores on Instagram. Thank you so much, Bekah, for